Hi, everyone, and welcome from spring break.
Hello, everybody. I hope you've had a good spring break.
We thought we would jump in quickly to talk about the scope of work document and scope of work assignment that's coming up for both sections, give you a sense of what that is about, give you a sense of sort of the depth that's expected, and just to remind you of things that you might have seen on this assignment, and also to draw your attention to some examples that might help you as you start this process or as you continue it, because some groups may have started thinking about this already prior to spring break. So on the screen now, you should see the scope of work assignment on Canvas. Notice that the due date is March 28th, well after you come back from spring break. It is a group assignment, so each team needs to submit just one document. The point of this document is not so much about a piece of paper or so much about a specific thing that we're trying to measure you on. It's actually important for your project. It's an important moment for you as a team of consultants to stop, to pause, and to assimilate all of the information you've gained so far in this process and tell your learning partners what kind of process they can expect to see from here forward. In other words, this is a momentary check-in with your learning partners to give them a sense of what work you actually will be doing for the rest of the term. This is a great document to have in any kind of project. It does traditionally come towards the beginning of the work period of a project. In our case, that happens to be about halfway through the semester, but the bulk of your productivity and the work that you're producing will come in the second half of the term. So that's why it's timed the way it is here. This document is a business document. It's a communication tool. It's a chance for you to tell the LP very specifically what they can expect, and yet it still preserves plenty of flexibility for you to adapt to changing conditions. So even though it looks a little formal and we're presenting it as a formal list of commitments, you still do have room for the project to evolve and to respond to different conditions. But what we are trying to do is to put parameters around the project so that you can really focus. Okay, so as we look at the assignment, let's come down to the instruction section. We've got a pretty strong outline here, and we'll show you a template that you can use to create your own document.
Thanks, Dan. So this will be a great starting point for everybody. Make sure that you're spending some time familiarizing yourself with the content that's on the assignment, and then you can jump into the template and you can make this a Google document for your team to work on collaboratively. As you are getting a little bit further, we'll spend some time in class in the coming week after spring break to workshop your scope of work document and to do some reviews. So you can see the template here, and basically there's going to be some annotations throughout the document that you can delete. They're intended for you as you're developing it to give you a sense of approximately how long it would be expected for each of these different sections. So feel free to delete the text that's more prompting for your team, like how many words need to be in that section, and some of the instructional text. You want to make this a professional document. Like Daniel was saying, this is a communication tool for your learning partner. So this is really going to be a polished document that you're preparing that jumps off from following up with your needs assessment reporting and checking in and giving your LPs their most recent status report. So in this document here, you'll see some details around the cover page that you're going to create. So there will be a cover page that goes over your scope of work document that has the content that you see bulleted here. And then you'll actually have your report that starts on the next page after your cover page, where you'll have a project title. So this is a title that you are explaining the work that you're doing. and it should be a good title that really matches the concepts that you've been developing so far. You'll give a project description. This is approximately 250 words. We give these approximations. Yours might be a little bit less, it might be a little bit more, but it gives you an idea of where to aim. And so that project description is going to tell us about the overarching goals and your outcomes of the project. So you can draw back to your program logic models, you can draw back to your problem statements to really inform your scope of work. Most of the content here is not new. You've already been developing this. A lot of this is going to be drawing directly from documents that you've already prepared. And now you're just putting it into an externally facing professional document for your learning partners. Then you'll give an overview of your conceptual framework. This is where you will get into a little bit more detail about your logic models. You'll provide some summary narratives here, and you will include your theory of change and your program logic models as appendices to your scope of work document. Then you'll get into the project scope and deliverables. So hopefully, as you were completing your needs assessment, you were really starting to see what direction your project work is starting to take. And so this is where you're going to really outline those potential deliverables and the work, those tasks, those mini projects that you're doing for the rest of the semester. So this is where your team really will be coming together to say, this is what we're doing. This is how our project is going to take shape. And so you're going to document those deliverables in the task or milestone. You're going to provide an anticipated date of completion. You're going to talk about what that will produce, that output, your resulting deliverable, and then the owners of that. So is this something that you are doing collectively as a team? Maybe all of your names appear. Maybe a couple of you are dividing up the work at this point. Maybe you need some data from your learning partner. They're the owner and they're getting something to you in order for you to complete the deliverable. So you'll list that here. Feel free to add more categories, more boxes, rows if needed. Section 5 is going to be your project limitations and considerations. So these are going to be things that you need to be transparent about for your learning partner, things that you've maybe been discussing as a team, that we've talked about in class, things that your learning partner has shared with you that you want to make sure is documented, relevant to your project. Section 6 looks at project agreements or approvals. This could be an optional section if you don't have anything specific here, but if your LP has requested a statement of confidentiality, for example, you would note that here and then include that as an appendix. If you need to complete an institutional review board application, you would note that here and include that as appendix as well. Or if you haven't yet done those things, you would say forthcoming, and that could be attached later. Section 7 is going to be where you start that list of appendices, your theory of change, your program logic model. You're also going to have definitions of terms and framing language. So everybody should have this that has any of the key terminology, those complex ideas, definitions that are important to understanding your project work, things that your learning partner describes or uses in terms of terminology here. And then you'll add a student team bio to the appendix, and then any additional information that might be relevant to the work that you're doing.
So now to give you a better sense of what this might look like in practice, I wanted to walk through a worked example from a prior term. We have several worked examples there, and they all illustrate something different. But we wanted to highlight this one because it has a nice balance of form and function. It is a professional looking document that is well organized. It's making effective use of headings to draw the reader's attention so that they could navigate easily through the document. And it is very specific and precise with the timelines and milestones that the learning partner can expect. Now, when you make your own scope of work document, you'll need to follow the template that Dr. Butler just walked through, because in prior semesters, the scope of work document may have had different requirements or different templates were used. It is up to you to adapt the current template and make it your own, so you have agency over how it looks, but you do need to include those materials in those sections. So here, for instance, the project description is really robust. There's a clear project title. Obviously, the cover page looks different than what we've talked about in our current example. The communication plan and project timelines are, as I said, very detailed. They get us all the way through to the end of the term. It is important to note that you have already done a lot of things that have dates associated with them. So if you want to put in there conducting a certain number of key informant interviews, you can document things here that have already taken place. We are not only documenting the work that goes from now until the end of the semester. So this would be a recap of the phases or events that you've already finished, as well as a look forward to the phases, milestones, deliverables, et cetera, that will come for the rest of the term and for the rest of the project.
And you'll note on this particular document for section B from the Logic Model Weekend Workshop, Reggie Spence was one of our mentors for section B. And so this is a document that has been around for a while and, like Dr. Chatham said, has evolved over time. So we have much more of a focus on really highlighting the work that's been done in terms of conceptualizing the problem, and that you already are able to incorporate your logic models is a main difference to highlight in terms of some of this scope of work too.
Yep. So I think as you move forward with your scope of work documents, we want you to be comfortable that this document, although it has a lot of sections, it is a collection of things you already have worked on, you already have at your fingertips. And yes, a little refinement might be necessary in a given section. And yes, you might have to create some new things like your dates and your expected deliverables. Those will be things that you need to be thinking about anyway from a project management standpoint. And one great resource for you to make sure that you can think about those timeframes is our course overview page on Canvas. If you look out to our course homepage, you'll be able to see the topics that we're working through for the rest of the semester. Every week has the main topics out there, and that will give you a sense of when we are expecting to work through relevant components of your project.
And this is also an opportunity for, because it's a communication tool in and of itself, it's also an opportunity to invite your learning partner to see what your timeline looks like, what you're planning on doing, and to give feedback as far as the next steps for your project work. So it's a great time for your team to get together and take stock of what's been working and what's not working in terms of our project management. A lot of you have schedule changes coming up in the second half of the semester. So if this is an opportunity to decide, our team meeting times working still with schedule changes? Do we need to get anything else organized with our learning partner? Do we need to make some changes? This is a really good space to be able to document that, write that down, and then have those conversations with learning partners moving forward.
So we'd like to wish you good luck with the scope of work document. We know you can do it, and we're looking forward to helping you workshop through that process in coming class sessions, and also helping you as needed outside of class.
Great. We'll see you in class soon.